Look, nobody outside of this chat and this studio right here thinks that these boys are bringing home a W today. Damon and I on the Arizona Wildcats pregame show are going to break down how Arizona can pull off the upset in the Sweet 16, repeat that 2011 magic, and make their way to the Elite Eight in 2025. You got 30 seconds, and we're going to be right here on the AZ Wildcats pregame show breaking it all down. Don't you go anywhere.
Welcome on into the AZ Wildcats podcast. I am Damon Farrell. He is Kevin Thomas. We got producer Kyle pressing buttons for us, and we are in downtown Phoenix, HQ2, PHNX HQ. And Kevin, we do have ourselves a basketball game today.
Ooh, yes, we do, Damon Dog. Tell us all about it. Tell us all about it.
Time to get hyped. The Arizona Wildcats are taking on the Duke Blue Devils later in about 30 minutes here prior to tip, about 35-ish minutes to tip.
Yes,
here.
Indeed.
And of course, Duke, #1 net rating team in NCAA history here, and Arizona 13th in the country in net rating. So we're looking at, potentially the biggest upset of the Sweet 16 if the Wildcats can pull it off, Kevin. And man, are we excited for it.
I am beyond excited. I told everyone on our Koa Pete watch along this morning. Me and Damon pulling a long day today. We have been talking Arizona Wildcats since we woke up this morning. And I was telling you, Damon, that last night,
crawled out of bed.
And yes, we are doing a watch along, Howard. So stay right here on our YouTube channel. We will be doing a watch along for this game. And also the vibes, as you can tell, 77Z are incredible. They are immaculate just for you guys in this chat. But as I was saying, Damon, I went to bed last night literally manifesting an Arizona W. I don't know if that's embarrassing to say or not, but I literally went to bed last night, head against my pillow, praying, wishing for an Arizona Wildcats victory today. And less so wishing, Damon, and That's So Raven, where she gets that epiphany, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I felt last night before bed. As soon as I shut my eyes, I got that. Caleb Love's about to go off. Arizona is about to enter the Elite Eight.
I love it.
Pull off an upset. The vibes are good. We're going to break down, obviously, further this matchup and how Arizona can pull off the upset. But the vibes are great today. Duke, we're not ruling them out. Incredible team. Arizona could go out there and lose today. No shame in that either. And Duke could put it to them. But the vibes are there.
Yep. The
signs that Arizona could give Duke a run for their money at the very least are also there, Damon. And so, yeah, we have every right to be pumped. Hi, Baxter. Feeling good, feeling great. Got my hat on. Shout out Vanderbilt Bills.
You got your hat on.
You got your special hat on.
I got the lucky hat on.
You do.
And let's see if the lucky hat has any more luck tonight, because I'm not going to say that Arizona's going to need it, but I think that, you're going to need to give Duke everything that they can handle in order to pull off this W.
You are.
I don't really expect, as much as we, keep drawing the parallel to 2011, that became a blowout at the end of that game. I find it difficult to believe that Arizona is going to be able to pull off a massive win against Duke, similar to that 2011 game, Kevin. But I do think that Arizona can pull off this game, and I do think that they can get the W here. I think that they've been, disrespected of sorts from like a consensus standpoint. I know locally, a lot of us seem to think that Arizona has a little bit more of a chance. But yeah, I mean, Kevin, I know that you feel certainly like Arizona has a chance. I know I feel that way. I know most of the people here in the chat feel that way. And if you are in this chat, make sure you guys leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Helps us out immensely when you do so. And like Kevin said, we will be doing a watch along as we kind of divulge into this game, and we'll start that up right before tip starts.
Yeah.
But Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Duke, Kevin, and just kind of the team that is Duke. So why don't we start off by talking about their strengths? And this could be verbal meme here. This could be SpongeBob throwing the scroll down, and the scroll just keeps flowing along.
Yeah, it could.
Because
CVS receipt.
really Duke is pretty much has a strength in every facet of this game, Kevin. But we narrowed it down to 3 for the people at home.
Yeah, so Duke is the tallest team in the country. Their
Yep.
size is impeccable. Come on, Malawak. Their center stands 7'3" down there as well, Damon. So yeah, huge team, Duke. Their efficiency crazy. The only team in the country top 3 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. Absolutely unbelievable. And their pedigree. If you look at the players they have on their team, Cooper Flagg, #1 draft pick in the NBA presumptively this upcoming year. John Shire, 4th most wins in his first 3 seasons as a D1 head coach, just behind Tommy Lloyd,
Yeah.
Brad Stevens, and Brad Underwood. And yeah, Damon,
Behind who? What was that?
Tommy Lloyd. Ever heard of that guy?
One more time?
Our beloved president, Tommy Lloyd. Yeah. But yeah, no. Truly impressive team all around. Like, they really don't have any holes. The Duke Blue Devils, and yeah, those are their strengths, Damon Dog. And like you said, they could literally we could do a whole 30-minute podcast on what Duke is good at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we absolutely could. Kyle, if you wouldn't mind pulling that back up here one more time. We had to narrow it down to efficiency.
Yes,
Kevin, because they're so good at shooting from all facets of the floor, whether that's, points in the paint, whether that's scoring from outside the arc, or whether that is, just from a 2-point percentage. But all in all, it's good enough for Duke to have the number 3 effective field goal percentage on offense in the entire country.
unbelievable.
And conversely, defensively, they have the number 1 defensive field goal percentage allowed on defense. So, we're dealing with a juggernaut of a team here. But as we go into the weaknesses, Kevin, I think that this is part of the reason why I think, they factor in as the highest net rating team ever. I'm not going to say that Duke is not an elite basketball team. I absolutely think they are. But Kyle, if you wouldn't mind bringing the weaknesses up, I do believe that this point here at the bottom does play a factor into that, right, Kevin?
It does.
They had a pretty bad strength of schedule for a power basketball team.
Yes.
The ACC was not good this year. You saw Louisville and Clemson as the other 2 teams to join Duke out of the ACC, and North Carolina. And those were the 3 schools that outside of Duke made it from the ACC. And all 3 of those schools, Kevin, lost in the first round.
Yeah.
And pretty handily as well. So, I think that this is, I forget who exactly put this on Twitter, so sorry for doing that. But I believe this is the best team that Duke has played since they played Auburn on like December 4th or something, Kevin. Like, it was an extremely long time ago. And yeah, December 4th, net rating wise, I believe. So yeah, you're looking at a team that has not really been battle tested for the better part of 3 months now.
Yeah, no, they had not been tested
and
at
I
all,
think
really.
that's where you can potentially catch them off guard. Is Arizona is a physical team. They can match them from a size perspective to an extent. I know that they're not the same size as Duke, but they're not going to shy away from contact, and they do have some size to them. And yeah, I believe that Arizona can take advantage of maybe their weak schedule and weak opponents that they've gotten used to playing, similar to how Arizona was in the Pac-12 for many years, Kevin, where they'd get into the tournament, they'd make the Sweet 16, and then they'd play a real team that was humming at the right time because they had played physical basketball all year and were peaking at the right time, and they get dog walked.
Yes.
And I think that that's, potentially, I'm not going to say that Arizona could dog walk Duke, but I think that that's the game plan here. That's the blueprint.
And you mentioned how skilled Duke is and that they're the highest net rated team this season.
Yeah.
But they're also, I think you might have said ever, and you're right. A Duke team is the highest net rated team ever, but this Duke team is the second highest net rated team ever, behind the 1988 or 98, 99. Sorry, Duke Blue Devils there, Damon. So yeah, this is a historically good, historically efficient team, Damon. And you spoke to their strength of schedule and how Arizona can kind of manipulate that in that weaknesses category as well. They haven't really been tested. To your point, Arizona is battle tested as hell, folks. We have been over it on every post game pretty much this season, win or lose, right? Win or lose. This conference, the Big 12, has solidified this Arizona roster, turned them into the gritty boys, right? And earlier this week I set this game up as the Gritty Boys versus the Pretty Boys,
Love it.
which is somewhat true. But yeah, I say
Better,
that because
better than Catholics versus convicts. Like, legitimately. I'm not even kidding.
I mean, Gritty Boys versus the Pretty. Can we make it a thing? I mean,
With their whole team of 5 stars.
chat, it's on you now. Make it a thing. But yeah, what I was saying was they have truly not been tested in any real way.
Yeah.
I think the injury to Cooper Flagg was a test for the rest of the guys in that roster, which honestly you could argue is the most important test for that team as a whole. How are you going to play without Cooper Flagg, right? So they have been tested. They have faced adversity. Duke has gotten better over the course of this season, but we talked about some of the other weaknesses on that Duke team as well, Damon, their pace. And this is not necessarily and you and I were talking about this, but it's not necessarily a weakness, but it's an exploitable thing that Arizona can turn into a weakness.
Yeah.
Duke has one of the longest average time of possessions in the nation.
Can I stop you for a quick second?
Of course.
I just want to say that in doing so, like, we're saying that Duke has no, like, outward weaknesses.
Yeah.
Like, we have to come up with something. We had to come up with something that we could potentially use as an exploitation.
I'm glad you said that.
For Duke. Like, we're not going to say that, they are necessarily like a slow team or like they can't run, but I just think that, this is one of those things that we have to, like, try to do our best to make it 3 here. And continue, Kevin.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you said that, because like I was saying, like, it's not necessarily a weakness that Duke can play slow and still be efficient. Like, they're one of the slowest teams in the country from a time of possession standpoint, but they're also one of the most efficient. So they can slow it down and still get all the buckets in the world, almost like a Houston in that way.
Yeah.
Right. So what Damon and I are trying to say by putting pace as a weakness is that if Arizona can force Duke to turn the ball over, speed them up in transition, play Arizona's game, what they're comfortable playing, I think they can find success and exploit Duke's level of comfortability that they had so far this season with running their game, with running their pace. So I think you can weaponize pace in this game against Duke and turn their comfortable pace, their efficient pace, into somewhat of a weakness, Damon. And yeah, what was our third weakness there?
Well, I just adding on to that, and I think I obviously said, right now that I don't think that they're a slow team, but I will say that they are the #1 height team. And typically when you have a team that is tall like that, they're not going to be able to run as fast as a team maybe like Arizona that is just flooded with athletes, right? Even Henry Vasar is like, that dude gets up fast to the rim. Tobe Awaka is an athlete. I think we have our quarrels with how he sometimes attacks the rim, but he definitely runs up and down the floor. And then you're mixing in Carter Bryant. You got a smaller 4 in Trey Townsend. KJ Lewis, Caleb Love, and Jaden Bradley might be the most athletic trio of guards left in the tournament still.
That's a great point as well.
So, I mean, I think that is you got to make them uncomfortable, and a team that's that tall won't be comfortable if you're just running the game in transition fully the entire time, like an Arizona team might be able to do. So while it might be difficult, I think, obviously I expect the effort to be, all hands on deck here. I think that this is a game where you're going to see a lot of diving on the floor for loose balls. You're going to see a lot of intensity from Arizona because they know that they're going to have to do the little things in order to win this basketball game. But yeah, Kyle, if you wouldn't mind bringing up these weaknesses here. Our third weakness was age and experience. And I think that this is the most, maybe the most concrete thing here that I can, say as a talking head on this podcast, Kevin. I don't want to say like an analyst or a journalist or anything, but yes, a pundit. I think that this is very exploitable. Duke has 4 freshmen in their starting lineup, right?
Yeah. And
you're looking at an Arizona team that most of the roster has played a tournament game before.
Correct.
So, the combination of Duke not having played a real team really since Auburn, if you don't count ACC schools, which I'm not, and you combine that with the fact that, Duke is a very inexperienced team. I think that you have to put the pressure on them, right?
Yeah, you really do.
And if you put the pressure on them, you might see them fold. And maybe they don't. Maybe they rise above the occasion because they're just that talented. Because no one's going to sit here at home and be like, Arizona's a more talented team than Duke. But you got to find other ways to win. And I think that those things are the things that you're going to have to do here, Kevin.
Yeah, Damon, I agree with you. And you kind of are speaking on some of the stuff that Derek Williams spoke to when we asked him the Arizona Wildcats legend, how Arizona can pull off an upset in this matchup as well, Damon. And if you haven't checked that out, maybe at halftime or something, go check out our interview with Derek Williams as well.
Mm-hmm.
He touches on some of the little things that Arizona is going to have to do in this game, such as diving on the floor for loose balls, playing tenaciously, having more grit than the Duke Blue Devils. Because, Damon, and
that's coming from a dude, Kevin, who I was talking to it with you yesterday. That's a guy who literally put up the best season in the history of the Pac-10.
Yes.
When it comes to a single season in 2010, 2011. And he's talking about diving on the floor for loose balls.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're going to see that from a guy like Caleb Love tonight, right? Like, Caleb Love has the most notoriety on this team. And yes, he's not Derek Williams level player. But you're going to see him as a leader. Like, he's going to be turned up to 11.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to set the tone for everybody else. Jaden Bradley's going to be turned up. Like, Tobe Awaka is going to be as stone statue faced as usual because that's who he is. And KJ Lewis is going to be fired up as well. So, like, this is a team I feel like that they're ready for this challenge, Kevin. I really, really do.
What monetary amount? I don't know why I worded it so strangely.
Mm-hmm.
How much money would you pay to be a fly on the wall in the Arizona locker room pregame today?
Who's giving the speech?
Honestly, I don't know. Maybe like KJ Lewis.
I got one.
Who?
Jason Gardner. Point guard of the 2001 national runners-up to the Duke Blue Devils, where Arizona was robbed of a national championship, Kevin. I think you give Jason Gardner the mic and you say whatever you want to say, brother. And you just let him just fire the guys up. I'm getting chills just thinking about it, Kevin.
Ooh.
But I want Caleb Love. I want Caleb Love talking as well. And he is.
I think you give Caleb Love the mic, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Or KJ Lewis. Unironically, I think Trey Townsend would give a very focused but like effective speech. It might not be the Ray Lewis rah, have you run through a wall type beat. But I think Trey Townsend would like say the right stuff to have you in the mindset of like, hold on, this could be my last game this season.
Yeah.
How hard am I going to play in my possible last game this season? Right. I think that's the kind of stuff that Trey Townsend would bring to the table. So who knows? Maybe if Arizona wins and we have Derek Williams on the podcast again, maybe we'll ask him who he would have given the speech to, because he was kind of non-committal. When we asked him, we kind of implied what the pregame speeches were like. He was kind of non-committal on it. I think he made it sound a lot more chill than maybe it might already be. But
he said that Sean Miller basically said that you only have one shot at this.
Yeah.
And like basically to go make it happen, because it doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. It matters what the people in this locker room think. And I think that's what this team is feeling right now as well, Kevin. Like I don't mean to. I'm in a weird spot right now because do you think? Let me ask you this: do you think if Koa Pete this morning had committed to, God forbid, ASU or maybe somewhere else, right?
Hurston?
Yeah. Do you think? Are you sitting here with a little bit of confidence, like we are right now, that Arizona's gonna like? Does that change your thought process at all? Because I'll be honest, like I feel like maybe if that happened, there's a chance that I'd be a little bit down in the dumps right now.
Yeah, I know you were saying that on our reaction.
Like I feel like the vibes are just incredible.
The vibes are amazing. Brian Brigger's birthday, Austin Wells hitting a home run on opening day.
First home run
Koa
this
Pete,
season.
5-star commitment, staying in Arizona to play for your boys,
the
Arizona Wildcats right here. The vibes are immaculate, Damon. We've been saying it on this podcast all day. A part of the reason why we think that Arizona can pull off the W, just something in the air, right? Something about the feel of the day.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah.
And that's how I felt going to bed. It's how I felt waking up. The sun was brighter this morning. The birds were louder chirping. The breeze was nicer on my skin. Everything was awesome this morning.
Yeah.
And I think that it's kind of just speaking to the non-tangible stuff. I know it's kind of silly to be talking about all this stuff on a pregame show, right? But that's kind of where you're at in some of these games where you are the Goliath. I don't know if it was Howard or who in the chat referenced this earlier, but you are the Goliath to David in a way, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of have to make some things. You kind of have to find ways that Arizona can pull this out, because it's a possibility, right? People all across the nation ruling Arizona out, ruling out the Wildcats, saying it's a one-man show. Only Caleb Love can carry them, right? I think that when that's the narrative, you have to go in and poke holes and find ways that Arizona can overturn that narrative, right? We're not necessarily saying that Arizona should be the favorites because of vibes, but we're saying that maybe Arizona can give Duke a run for their money and people are not giving them the credence and credit that maybe they deserve, Damon Dog.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, Kevin. And here's another good example of it. Our
22
friends
threes.
over at Bet365, and this is not a paid for ad. This is just a free promo for our guys at Bet365. They're giving away a super boost right now, Kevin. Plus 240 to plus 450. Arizona wins the first half money line.
Plus 240 to plus 450.
That's a huge boost. That's the super boost
Damn.
of the night here.
Shout out Bet365.
In Arizona. Our friends at Bet365. Get in on that. Use our promo code of PHNX. Yeah. That's that's kind of just, it goes to show, Kevin, like I'm getting Arizona to win the first half at plus 450.
Should we just, I mean, we're talking about it. Should we discuss what we're on for this game?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Let's kind of preview into our watch along. We'll be tracking our bets all throughout the watch along here. Trying to do some fun, maybe a little bit more fun, interactive stuff here.
Yes.
With this watch along. So make sure you guys stick around for that. Like this video, of course, if you were here in the chat. 777Z says Alabama dropping 22 threes is sick.
Yeah, I literally had to look it up. It's
that is indeed
105.
106.
106. It just it just happened to me too.
Alabama with 2:36 left might be able to put up 120 points in this game.
Gross. I mean, a lot of people were calling it a race to 90, a race to 100, and Alabama won both races. So
and the over hit somehow.
Oh my!
I said it, man.
That's a gaudy number, man.
I said it.
That's a gaudy number. Josh, actually, you want to talk about more vibes, Damon? Josh here in the chat, not a U of A fan, but it happens every year that upsets do happen. I think
we haven't hit our quota yet.
Yes, I think he's alluding to the fact that there has yet to be a real seismic upset. An upset that really has all the analysts, shaking in their boots like, oh, what am I going to say to excuse that pick that I had? How can I possibly logic my way through picking Akron over Arizona? How could I possibly logic my way through picking
Zip it up
Duke over Arizona? You know what I mean? So there hasn't been a big upset yet. We're waiting on it. And hopefully, why not us? Why not us, chat? Why not us? Also, thank you for joining us, Josh. We appreciate
you, Josh. Josh is a big Cards fan.
Yes.
Big friend of the program over there at PHNX Cardinals. But yeah, Kevin, going back to this game, where do you think Arizona, we talk about winning on the margins. Is there anything in particular that you can point to that you think it would qualify as the margins per se?
Yeah, I think offensive rebound percent. It's a totally marginal thing, right? But I think that I know that I went back and found it. In 2 of the 3 losses this year that Duke has accumulated, only 3 losses for Duke, so not a lot, not a big sample size either way. But in 2 of the 3, they've lost the offensive rebound percentage battle.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and this is why, again, I identified Tobe Awaka in my preview video as an X factor for Arizona in this matchup. Because if Tobe Awaka can get on the offensive glass, be effective versus a tall big who's agile like Kaman Maluwak, make him work. I'm not trying to disrespect him, but Kaman Maluwak was worked to the point of vomiting so far this season already. So if you can put the freshman through it, make him sweat, he's going to be less effective on the offensive board. So I think Tobe Awaka is going to be huge in this matchup, to say the least, from just a physicality standpoint, but that physicality hopefully resulting in tangible offensive rebounds. Because one of the best rebounders in the Big 12, one of the best rebounders in the country, Tobe Awaka. For all the size that Kaman Maluwak has, he is not the rebounder that Tobe Awaka is. And that is an effort and an anticipation skill. So, and keep coming back to it, but physicality and effort for Arizona could win you this basketball game.
To further your point, too, making Maluwak uncomfortable, bringing up a time in which, he threw up earlier this season. Arizona has 2 centers that are viable.
Yes.
They could play heavy minutes if they're staying out of foul trouble. If Arizona can keep those guys fresh, keep those guys out of foul trouble, it's as if, they have a guy, ready to go straight off the bench who's a starter caliber player that they can put on Maluwak at all times. And I think you're right, Kevin. That is an absolutely a battle that I think Arizona is going to have to, maybe win by quite a bit if they're going to want to win this basketball game. Because as much as, we love our guy, Mr. March, Trey Townsend, or we love our guy, Carter Bryant, and hope he comes back for another year, Cooper Flagg is probably going to score more than both them combined, right? Like, if you're just looking at the matchups, those are the power forwards. Like, I think that the center matchup is absolutely one that Arizona can go into it saying, we need to win this one if we want to win this basketball game. We need Tobe and Henry to both give you double-digit points tonight. And that's kind of where I'm at with it, Kevin.
I feel like you need and this is semantics, but I think it's an interesting topic to talk about. I think you need 2 of your 4 front court members to go double digits. I don't know which 2, but I think 2 of the 4 of Carter Bryant, Trey Townsend, Henry Owaka, Henry Vasar, and Tobe Awaka. 2 of those 4 need to get into double digits for you, and I would say above double digits. So get into that 12, 14. If Carter Bryant can give you 12 and 6,
yeah,
you probably win this game, to be quite honest with you, if your guards are doing what your guards
if
are
Carter
expected
Bryant hits
to do.
like 3 threes tonight,
Yes. A couple blocks maybe on the other end. I mean, if we're talking X factors, we're talking front court guys, Carter Bryant is right there as well, right? If it's not Tobe Awaka, my X factor might be Carter Bryant. And for people, real quick, and for people in the chat saying, or maybe not saying, but thinking, what about Caleb Love? Is he not the X factor? I think it's hard to call Caleb Love the X factor when I think we know the mentality and the approach that Caleb Love's going to take to each game, and what that likely is going to look like. I think there's a little bit more. Yeah, I'm going to use a wrong word here, but a little bit of variance to the performances of the other players in relation to what we expect from them. I think we expect the same thing from Caleb Love pretty much every game. In fact, we expect more from Caleb Love in these big games. So I wouldn't really be shocked. I wouldn't really think it. If Arizona wins this game, Caleb Love has to have a good game at the very least. So I don't think he's
for sure
the X factor. I think the X factor is someone who, if Arizona wins this game, they're the reason Arizona won the game. They're a marginal person on the roster, maybe, or on the depth chart, so to speak, that has elevated their game to a point where it's like, okay, they came through in that matchup when you needed them most. And hey, maybe you think I'm describing Caleb Love in this matchup, but for me, Tobe Awaka, Carter Bryant are the 2 biggest, like, what will they do X factors in this game in relation to Arizona winning it. Continue, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was trying to speak to, you talking about Carter Bryant being an X factor, and, I was going to add on to that by saying that KJ Lewis is as well, because I think that this bench is one of those margins you win off of, right? Duke does not have the scoring options on their bench that Arizona has in Henry Vasar, in KJ Lewis, in Carter Bryant. If those guys can combine for a good game, Kevin, while your starters provide a decent floor, and I'm not saying that they have to beat Duke starters, but if they could go band for band with Duke starters, for lack of a better term here, yeah, and if you could do that, and then you can add on your bench, just destroying their bench, I think that that's where you are looking at potentially Arizona winning this basketball game. But yeah, I think that you're going to need a lot of energy from that bench unit there. Because yeah, that's one of the few things that Arizona actually has on Duke. I think is their 6, 7, and 8 man are starter caliber players versus Duke's guys are clearly bench players versus their starting lineup.
Howard in the chat identifying ADO as a possible X
Funny
factor.
you mentioned that, Howard. Our watch along, Kevin's got something planned.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to track ADO's minutes during this watch along, because I feel like the X factor is not how much ADO plays or how well he plays. It's how little ADO plays in this game. That would be the X factor, to be quite honest with you. And again, we've talked about this kind of at length on the show, but it's no disrespect to ADO, but there are just some matchups that don't lend themselves well to him succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you look at the kind of players, the kind of athletes that Duke has, it's tough for a guy like ADO who is not as skilled defensively as some of his counterparts, to say the very least, about the situation, right? I think that when you look at this matchup, you're probably looking at a guy like ADO, and if he can give you a 3 or 2, right? I feel like maybe you're happy with his contribution, but if he gives up 4 buckets on the other end, does that really matter if he comes in and hits 2 threes? You know what I mean? So I think, and this is a good conversation to have before we send it off, because we have about 5 minutes till tip off here. Does Tommy Lloyd change the starting lineup? People on social media have been wondering all week about it. What lineup does Tommy Lloyd bring to this game? And Saul Bookman actually changed my mind on the topic. I was in the bench ADO camp. Damon knows it. I was in the sit him for this game camp. But by doing that, you are signaling to your team that something is different about this Duke game, that the level has gone up, and you don't think that he can hang. And I think it does show a little bit of doubt if you were to do that. And I think that that's an important thing to talk about here. Tommy Lloyd over the course of the season has tweaked and fixed and configured this lineup in a way that has made it hum. This team cannot shoot really well, cannot shoot really efficiently for long stretches. And not only that, Damon, but this offense has been one of the top efficiency offenses in the country, I think at least in the top 30 for a majority of the season, right? And I think that's a credit to Tommy Lloyd, but I say all that to say, what has gotten you to the dance you should go home with that, right? You should go home with the girl that you brought to the dance, right? I think that you start ADO in this. You give him an incredibly short leash. I'm talking the tip-off happens. If Duke wins the tip and they turnstile through ADO for a bucket, sit him. Like, I don't care, right? But you start the game, you prepare for the game the exact same way that you did the rest of this game, the rest of the tournament games. Because I think that is another, because again, Corey Williams talked about this on McHale Madness, how when certain coaches change the style of their coaching before the tournament, it shakes their players. It kind of sends a jolt through them, like, oh, something. If coach is off, if coach is tense, I gotta be tense. Something's changed. I gotta change. I gotta lock in, and not in a positive way. So I think you keep ADO in the lineup, give him the most incredibly short leash you possibly can, and pray he doesn't cost you in this one.
I'm with you, Kevin. I am with you. That was poetic,
yes,
brother. I could tell you practiced that one.
I didn't, or else I wouldn't have screwed up the girl in the dance and the
Yeah, sure. Before we get out of here, and we will be off air for about 3 minutes here before we get up and running for our watch along. But before we do, Kevin, let's do some quick predictions before the game. And I kind of have a feeling of where this one's gonna go.
What?
But Kevin.
Yep.
Would you mind telling the people, the fine folks of this chat, all of our best friends, as we usually do, blood brothers and sisters in this chat, what do you think will happen tonight?
Arizona Wildcats upset the Duke Blue Devils by a final score of 76 to 72. Because, like I said, real quick, because Arizona is 6-1 in the tournament under Tommy Lloyd when scoring 70+ points. 0-2 in the tournament under Tommy Lloyd when scoring less than 70 points. That one loss was a 72-point performance to Clemson. So if Arizona wins this game,
and they played horrible offense.
If Arizona wins this game like we are predicting, or not to spoil yours, but if Arizona wins this game like I am predicting, they have to most likely get over that 70-point mark, and so that's why I predicted it the way I have.
What's it matter about my prediction anymore? Kevin spoiled it. Let's just go. Let's just read it out, Kyle. I'm just kidding. I will take Arizona as well. I like the Cats tonight because I just feel the vibes in the air, Kevin. We've been talking about it. I think Duke is a better basketball team, but I think that they're untested. I think that they're inexperienced. And I think Arizona is going to play this game like it's the Super Bowl, and it well and truly is. Arizona fans, it has been kind of a treacherous decade, I would say. I wouldn't say that it's been up to the standard that we've set for ourselves, Kevin, under Lute Olson. And I think that this is well and truly the game that gets you back on the national scene as one of the premier programs that Sean Miller had us in for a couple years time period, and then, lost it for a little bit. But I think what Tommy Lloyd is building is more sustainable. And, I got a feeling tonight. Let's go Arizona, and let's go Cats by 3, 79 to 76, Kevin.
Okay. In that same range as me, Damon. I mess with it. I mess with that.
Gonna take everything.
It's gonna mean everything.
Yep.
Win or lose, it means everything. You can catch us on this watch along very shortly, maybe in less than 3 minutes. It means everything. Damon and I'm letting it fly. Damon and I will have it for you on the watch along very shortly. So tap in with us, bear down, go Cats, and we will see you on the watch along and the post game show.
We all silly like the mayor.